Meta has announced that they've just started running ads on Threads, and this is a game changer for Facebook ads. I've been doing this long enough to remember when Instagram ads were first introduced, and that changed Meta ads in a big way for the better. I think there's a good chance we're about to see the same thing with Threads. In this video, I'm going to explain what's going on, what's happening, and what it means for you as a Meta advertiser. So I've got Meta's news article, what they've released the information about this up in front of me. So they've got introducing ads in Threads. Very, very exciting. So I'm not going to read through this whole thing, but I'm going to highlight some important parts and then we can discuss what does this mean? What impact is this going to have? I think it's mostly going to be very positive and definitely exciting for Facebook and Instagram advertisers. Okay, so key takeaways. Starting today, we will begin a limited early test of ads in Threads with a small number of advertisers to help people discover the brands they love, So what can we see from that? It's a test at the moment. Now, Meta does that with every new thing that they introduce. They always test it with a select few advertisers, with a few ad accounts. In this case, it's going to be a few user accounts on Threads to see how it performs. Now, they've worded this in a way that makes it, okay, if it doesn't work out, we won't go ahead and introduce this. I think there's basically zero chance of that happening. Meta is definitely going to introduce ads to Threads. They're going to want to monetize that. They will have spent a lot of money, a lot of sort of goodwill promoting Threads as well. You know, there's only so many times you can ask your audience to do things, and many people have set up Threads accounts. So they're going to want to cash in on that effectively. So it might not be, next week, but if they're testing now, in the very near future, I'm very confident we are going to see a rollout of ads across Threads and to a lot more advertisers. Right now, it's being done as a test. Then this next point is really interesting. So backed by Meta's proven ad systems, the familiar visual feed format will enable advertisers to easily extend existing image ads to Threads with a check of a box. Loads of things we can read into from that sentence, right? So they're going to start with image ads. That makes sense given the platform. It's more simple from a creative standpoint, Threads, isn't it? A lot of text-based posts. It was designed to replicate, what Twitter was in a way. So not as like visually complex as say Instagram or even Facebook. So starting with image ads, that's good for advertisers. I can make it really easy to get set up when we are able to start running ads on Threads more broadly. And also you can see they said here, the familiar visual feed format will enable advertisers to easily extend existing image ads. So it's very simply going to be a case if you can take image ads that you're running on Facebook, running on Instagram, and boom, pop them on Threads as well, or instead, depending on what it is that you want to do, most likely. Now, if we scroll down, we can see that Meta have kind of given us a bit of an example. They've got this Jasper's Market, which is the example they always use when they're demonstrating ads. You see it throughout all their support docs. Now, interestingly, that image isn't like feed format. It's not square or, slightly more tall than is wide in terms of the aspect ratio, which is what you typically see on, say, an Instagram feed or a Facebook feed. That's more landscape. That does appear in some placements, and it's one of the sort of 3 format options when you create a Facebook and Instagram ad. I don't know if that means it's going to be landscape images that are used as part of Thread ads exclusively for now with the image ads, or whether we're going to be able to use more square or feed style image ad formats. I would predict we'll be able to use square feed style image formats, but it's just interesting, the example there. Sometimes these things don't quite match up, right? Or that's one of the options. You can have landscape images, but you can also have square images that take up more of the screen when it gets through to Threads, okay? I also wanted to highlight this section here, okay? So we're talking about today, small number of tests, businesses will be able to extend their existing meta ad campaigns to Threads without the need for bespoke creative or additional resourcing, simply by checking a box in Ads Manager. So that's exactly how it started with Instagram ads. So like I said, I've been doing this a very long time, and there was a time where you could only advertise on Facebook. And then Instagram existed and was being built and didn't have ads on it for a while. Ads were then introduced, and it was as simple as ticking a box. Actually, I think it became even simpler than that pretty quickly, because it was as simple as not unchecking a box. As in, at the beginning, it might be you need to go in and specifically say, yes, I want my ads to run on Threads. But once ads have been on Threads for 6 months, 12 months, it's just going to be, your ads are going to be on there alongside Facebook, alongside Instagram, alongside the audience network by default, and then you'll be able to go in and take a look at the placement options and deselect should you not want to advertise on Threads for some reason. A lot of people, when Instagram ads were first introduced, said, oh, the Instagram ads aren't as good quality as what we've got with Facebook. I imagine there'll be a lot of pushback at the beginning with Threads. That definitely turned out to not be true. And in fact, advertisers, we now see it across the board, are willing to pay more for ads on Instagram than they are for ads on Facebook. CPMs are higher. Will that happen with Threads? Who knows? But I imagine there will be skepticism and pushback when it's first introduced, and people won't like that it's automatically put on there, just like happened with Instagram many years ago. And I'm pretty sure that that will work its way through the system, and we'll advertise on Threads just like we advertise on Facebook and Instagram. And if you've got the right campaign objective set up where you're optimizing for sales, optimizing for leads, Meta's going to work out where best to put your ads. That might be on Facebook, that might be on Instagram, that might be on stories, that might be on feeds, or going forward, it might be on Threads. So all very interesting stuff. So there are some more things that I want to talk about when it comes to this big Threads announcement in a second. Before I do, I just want to quickly let you know about our done for you Facebook, Instagram, and soon to be Threads advertising service. So we can create, manage, and optimize your ad campaigns. We can work out exactly where your ads should be shown across those various different apps, along with all the other things that are required to get you the best possible results. We can take the workload off your hands. We do this all the time. We spend tens of millions a year. We'll almost certainly get you better results than if you continue to manage your ad campaigns yourself. If that sounds interesting, there is a link in the video description. You can click on that, come through to a page on our website, and book in a free call with one of my team members. No obligation, just to find out more about how we might be able to help. So if that sounds interesting, go ahead and do that, and hopefully we get a chance to work together. Now, one of the things about this Threads ads timings that's really interesting is that Mark Zuckerberg was questioned a while ago and said, when are you going to look to introduce ads on Threads? Because that was obviously going to happen, right? When Threads was first launched, it's how Meta generates the vast majority of its revenue, is through ads on Facebook and Instagram, one of the biggest companies in the world. They were going to introduce ads on Threads. They had the network, the advertiser, everything set up to be able to do it. And he said at the time, we're going to look to get close to 1 billion users before we introduce ads. And I thought that was quite interesting, because that was going to be later than I expected. And now Threads has done really quite well. If you think about the growth since it launched, it's not that old. I think currently there's 320 million users, something like that, like a lot of users. But it's still well shy of the 1 billion user target. I think there's a few interesting things here. Firstly, I don't think they needed to wait to 1 billion users. That surprised me at the time. 320 million people seems like plenty to be able to start advertising, especially when you're not creating a whole new ad network or finding new advertisers. You're going to be leveraging a lot of your existing customer base who pay for Facebook and Instagram ads to the tune of tens, 100+ billion every year, right? Tens of billions, 100+ billion every year. So that was all set up and ready to go. Also, it might be an indication that Meta believes that the ceiling for how many users Threads can get is not as high as 1 billion. I don't ever expect Threads to be as popular as Instagram or Facebook. If you think Threads is clearly modeled off X, and X probably at its heyday, at its absolute peak user-wise, never really got past 500 million users. It's difficult to work that out exactly, and it looks like the user base is slightly smaller than it used to be, when it was previously Twitter. But yeah, it probably never got past 500 million users. So perhaps with that style of app, getting to 1 billion users is just not possible. Maybe, we'll see. But it might be something they're thinking. They're going, you know what? We might not hit 1 billion users, but we've still got a really valuable asset here, loads of interaction, advertisers ready to go. Why not go ahead and put ads on there? I wouldn't be surprised if Threads does get there eventually, but I also think it makes sense to go ahead and get ads on there. There's still a really big user base, and it'd be very interesting to see where that goes. So what does this mean for us Meta advertisers, those of us advertising on Facebook and Instagram? What does this mean over the short term and the long term? So the first thing to think about is that once ads are introduced on Threads, they already have been, but once that's been rolled out more broadly, we should see a relatively immediate drop in cost per 1,000 impressions, which would be fantastic. Now, one of the pieces of evidence, we can think about this theoretically, and I'll explain the logic behind that, but we have evidence for this as well. So if you add ads in on Threads, that increases the amount of ad inventory, that increases supply. Basic economics determines that if you increase supply, demand remains relatively the same, then price is going to drop. Happy days. That's exactly what we want as advertisers. And we have evidence for this because not that long ago, Facebook Reels were introduced, and that was, not introducing ads on a new platform, but it increased the amount of engagement on Facebook. So users went back to Facebook more, they spent more time on Facebook, watching Reels, that increased the amount of ad inventory, spaces where ads could be put, that increased supply, and we did see for a good 12 months at least, a significant drop in CPMs, which was really exciting and exactly what we wanted as advertisers, and hopefully we see the same sort of thing when ads are added to Threads more broadly. I think there's a very good chance that we will as well. You also think about it, once we've got this up and running as advertisers, having ads on Threads is a great opportunity. There are more chances to reach the people that you want to reach more often. That's going to help with conversions. There are also obviously going to be people that have Instagram, Facebook accounts, don't use them that much, but really like Threads and are on there all the time. And you weren't really able to advertise those people before. Great, now you can. That's more potential sales, that's more potential leads. When you have ads in more locations as well, one of the things that you can do is you can increase ad impression frequency over a shorter time period, and that can really help with conversions. Now, one of the things that Meta's so good at optimizing for automatically is how many times should we put ads in front of people over a relatively short period of time to get them to make a purchase, get them to become a lead. Because one ad impression rarely is enough, and also one ad impression every 2 weeks, well, they've forgotten the last time. Whereas if you can sort of cluster that, so you can, can we get 3, 4, 5 impressions over the next 24, 48 hours? Well, if you've got ads in more places being added to Threads, you're more likely to do that, and you're therefore more likely to get the conversion in a lot of cases, because people are far more likely to remember your business, your product, your service. If they've seen number of ads for it in a relatively short time period, they're therefore more likely to engage. And also, if Meta's doing its job of working out who to target at the right time, you want to put your ads in front of someone who just happened to be Googling for your type of product or service yesterday, and Meta can see that information and they're like, boom, great, let's go ahead and put ads in front of this person really quickly, really frequently right now for this business because we think we can get a load of conversions. Thread's going to make that easy to do to really build that impression frequency. So I think that's another big opportunity for us Meta advertisers. Like I said at the beginning, when ads were first introduced to Instagram, there was a lot of skepticism. It turned out to be amazing for Meta as a company, but also for us as advertisers. I think Threads might not be to the same extent as Instagram has been, because I don't think the user base will ever be as large as it is on Instagram. But is it a big potential opportunity? Yes. And the other thing that I mentioned along those lines is that for years after ads were first introduced to Instagram, it was much cheaper to advertise on Instagram than it was on Facebook, because advertisers were like, no, I'm used to Facebook ads. This isn't what I'm used to. I'm not going to advertise there. I don't think it's as good. They were wrong. And the market has worked that out now, because ads have been on Instagram for ages, and now, like I said, it's actually more expensive to advertise on Instagram than it is on Facebook. But there was that window of time, which lasted years, by the way, where it was much cheaper to advertise on Instagram, and I bet we see the same thing with Threads. So I bet when Threads are first introduced ads are first rolled out, I should say, advertising on Threads will be significantly cheaper, cost per 1,000 impressions, than advertising on Facebook and Instagram. Could be a really big opportunity for advertisers to hoover up relatively inexpensive sales and inexpensive leads. So really big opportunity. So one thing I want to mention before we end is that as ads gets rolled out to Threads, I will be releasing videos on this. We will be doing tons of testing. I'll be demonstrating how it works and the results we're getting, all that sort of stuff. So if you're interested in that and you're serious about your Meta advertising, your Facebook, Instagram, and Threads advertising in the future, make sure you subscribe and you'll see those future videos. Let me know what you think of this and the development, and if you're excited about it, in the comments below, and I'll see you soon.